ladies and gentlemen, join us in an overture of what we'd like to call the thing that should not be, or otherwise known as
the Bunny Rabbit's Hole. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to Podcast Land, YouTube world. This is the Bunny Rabbit's Hole. And here at the Bunny Rabbit's Hole, I am Jason with my co-host.
I am Craig.
Yes, and what we do here at the Bunny Rabbit's Hole, if you've not been here before, if you've not ventured into this hole, you are probably in for a treat. At least we hope so. But what we do is we take one theme each and every week. We discuss it, we research it, and then we talk about it until something inspires us to talk about something else. We venture down that topic until we finally reach an end, or Craig finally gets tired of us blabbing and brings us back to our main theme.
Right. And as Jason said, we pick that topic and we spend a week researching it. And for the most part, we're merely scratching the surface because our true goal of this is to get you people interested so you dig deep for yourselves, because we don't know everything and we don't pretend to. But we research the sides for and against, not just what fits our narrative, and we include our opinions. And if you're easily offended, now's the time to get stepping somewhere else.
Exactly. So if you are going to leave, now's a good time. If you'd like to stick around and see what we're going to talk about, we're going to ask Craig what we're going to talk about, what our theme is. If you still made it to this point, you haven't left us yet, I'm going to ask Craig a question. That question is going to be, what is our theme this week? But if you're still here, we thank you. And you can follow us on our social media channels, our Twitter, our YouTube, Instagram. We're the Bunny Rabbit's Hole on all of those. You can find us on YouTube. You can find this podcast on Stitcher, on iTunes, on Google, wherever you find your podcast, wherever you find love. But
Are we on MySpace yet?
What?
Are we on MySpace yet?
We do have a MySpace.
Do we really?
Yes. We do, actually, because we have so there's a thing called backlinks when it comes to websites, and we do have a website. It's called Bunny Rabbit's Hole. We do have a MySpace because we have a backlink back to everything else. But anyway, what is our theme today, Craig? Let's get started.
Our theme today is the scariest places on Earth.
Yes, the scariest places on Earth. So, scariest place means a lot to different people.
Right.
Okay? Let's face it. If you're an African American in a conservative white area where the KKK is, that is really fucking scary. If you're a white kid somehow down on Crenshaw Boulevard late at night, that probably could be a scary place. It's all perspective. So we're not really going to say that scary means paranormal. We're not going to say scary means war-torn or crime-riddled. We're saying it's all of it.
Right. I mean, give us some for instances. I mean, the most obvious ones that we won't talk about, Jason, what would those be?
All right, so we're not going to talk about Syria because it's all war-torn and torn apart with terrorism and everything. We're not going to talk about North Korea. We're not going to talk about Yemen with the assassinations that happened there. We're not going to talk about Fukushima, Japan, with the nuclear disaster that happened there. We're not going to talk about North Sentinel Island because we talk about that place way more than what we probably should for 50 to 500 people that live on their island by themselves. We're not going to talk about how deadly Death Valley is because everybody drives through it and they know how deadly it is. But what we are going to talk about is a lot of other fun places that we think you should take your family to.
You're right. Get ready for the family vacation of a lifetime. Where is our first stop point, Jason?
So, the first place I want to talk about, and I want to start us off with a bang, because what I love is a lot of these places are in places that end with Stan. This one happens to be Turkmenistan. And what this is a place called the Door to Hell.
I want to go. Sign me up.
I would love to go too, because with one exception is it takes like 6 hours of driving through like 110-degree weather to get to this place. And what it is, it's this huge crater in the middle of the desert that's on fucking fire.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's it at?
It is in Derwazi, Turkmenistan. And I printed out a picture. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it. If you're watching a podcast, it is a fucking crater. It looks
Holy
like
shit.
it is
You know
a
what it looks
crater.
like?
What's that?
It looks like the aftermath from the Avengers when they're in that foreign country and the whole city was razed.
Yeah, exactly. Sokovia. When they raised that up there, there's a big fucking hole, but now imagine that hole was on fire.
Exactly. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, the crater is 230 feet wide, and it just simply won't stop burning. They call it the door to hell. And what happens was they were searching for oil back in 1971 when they accidentally hit a methane reserve, and the drilling platform collapsed, forming a crater, releasing dangerous gas into the air. And the scientists decided to light the crater to burn off the methane, and it's been burning for over 40 years.
Holy shit. Now, see, this is why you don't light your farts.
Yeah, right? So, yeah, this was probably Jackass on a bigger scale right here.
Right. You know, I got to bring up a point. You know, doing this research on the scariest places reminds me of this old Eddie Murphy skit that I'm sure you remember.
I know where you're going with this, too.
He's talking about why, you know, there's never African Americans in horror movies. And he's like, and he brings up, what's the name of it? Amityville.
Uh-huh.
So he's like, the African American home family, they go up, they come into the house and like, oh, what a beautiful home. Then the house says, get out. Too bad we can't stay.
So that's not where I thought you were going with that, actually. I thought you were going to talk about his uncle that was trying to do the barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
That's fire.
Just roll him around. He'd be all right.
Yeah, right. So that's where I thought you were going with that.
But, I mean, imagine having that in your backyard.
Right.
Flaming fart. Crater. So, I mean, that methane reserve, it's obviously not emptied out.
No, it's just it's a huge pocket of gas in the earth that just keeps spilling out, and it's burning and burning and burning. It's like a fucking candle in the wind that just won't blow out. Could
you imagine had they not lit it on fire, how bad that would be to the surrounding area?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It would have been a horrible catastrophe. Mm-hmm. Now, this is not alone on our planet. Okay, there's another scary place, but this one is not in a stand. It's in a Sylvania. This one has to be in a Pennsylvania.
Dun, 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 dun.
Did you come across the city of Centralia, Pennsylvania?
I did, but I didn't really do much research on it.
Okay, so this one is a very similar. It's very similar to the other one, with the exception of this one doesn't have a crater. So there's a town of Pennsylvania where they had a mine there. It was a phosphorus coal mine, and somehow it mysteriously caught on fire in 1962. So the fire spread through underneath the town, through all the interconnecting tunnels, and then has been burning ever since. And they say it'll burn. Scientists say it'll burn for another 250 plus years.
Jesus Christ.
And yeah, so the town had a huge not a huge population, but they had a decent population. But then people started really moving out after two isolated incidents happened. A gas station owner reported abnormally high gasoline temperatures in his underground tanks at his gas station. And then another one, a young boy nearly fell into a new sinkhole that opened up in his backyard. That the sinkhole was 150 feet deep.
Jesus Christ.
So after this one, people just moved out.
Right.
And now there's still 8 people that still live in this town.
Why does that not surprise me? Okay, some backstory for everybody. Jason and I actually lived in Pennsylvania for a while. We lived in Pittsburgh. We were going to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh.
Yes.
I did not like Pennsylvania. I like it more than Ohio, but
right.
Pittsburgh made Detroit look clean.
It was a dirty town.
It was filthy, and I just wasn't a fan of it. I mean, we ended up having to move because we came home for Christmas, and us being from Michigan, it was no big deal. There was a huge snowstorm, and then we had a top floor apartment, and the ceiling caved in my bedroom right above my bed, and the landlords wouldn't do shit about it, so we ended up just packing all of our shit and getting the fuck out.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a tropical rainforest of freezing cold water in his bedroom.
Yeah, destroyed a lot of my shit, and I was not happy.
It was sad, and fuck those slumlords.
That I've never. I don't even like any sports team from Pennsylvania. I liked the Penguins when they had Lemieux and Yager.
Yeah.
Other than that, Crosby's a pansy. And anywho, back on track. You know what? You know which one? I know you ran across this one, and I found this one fascinating. Jacob's Well in Texas. And Willoughby, Texas.
So I'm like you with Centralia. I saw it, but I didn't put it on my list, so I don't know that much about it.
Okay, so Jacob's Well is basically, it's like a spring, and then there's this giant, it's like, it's like a little water area, and then there's this giant hole that goes down deep, and it attaches to caves, and people actually go scuba diving, or not scuba diving, deep sea diving down in there, and 5 divers have died down there, but like I watch videos of people like jumping off the rocks into the opening of the crater that goes down, and then coming back up to swim. But there's stories out there that if you get too close to it, it will pull you in. It's really strange.
Huh.
But it's fascinating too because, I watched some video of people diving down underneath there, and there's no fish. There's no seaweed.
Weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's just rock. Everywhere is rock. And I'm just like, because you expect, like, you go diving and something like you're going to run across some, like, seaweed and shit like that.
Right, because, like, off the coast of Italy, this was one that I saw. It's not a scary place, but it's different. A guy had put a statue of Jesus down. It's like 53 feet down in the water. But it's covered in seaweed and stuff like that. So you would expect that going down there, it would be a creepy as shit like that statue of Jesus is.
Right, but maybe that's because the statue of Jesus is in salt water.
Yeah.
But then again, you look at shipwrecks in Lake Michigan or Lake Superior, and they're covered in seaweed, moss, and shit like that too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, I found it kind of weird, but we won't go too far into that one because neither one of us did a lot of research on it. I just wanted to bring it up because, I want to pique people's interest. I want you guys to go check it out and tell me what it's all about.
Right. We're just like we do on all of our episodes. We are the jump off point for discussion. That's what we try to do here is we try to get you to discuss this type of shit with your friends, pique your interest, and hopefully maybe we even get you to start a new hobby. Because let's face it, some of you fuckers need hobbies.
Right. Get out of your fucking house, as I sit here in my leave.
Right. So please listen to this on your headphones and go walking.
Right. Oh, and I got to bring this one up too because this one is also fascinating. And for this, we'll take it to Scotland. Where we have the Overtoun Bridge.
This one is weird. Overtoun Bridge is really, really weird.
It's not what you would think. I mean, you think of bridges, you think of suicides, you think of people jumping. This one is dogs suicides.
Yeah. And there's over 50 documented dogs that have just gotten away from their owners and just jumped to their death off this bridge. There's actually one story. What's that?
Were there any undocumented dogs?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's hard to check that.
Yep.
But there was actually one report of a dog jumping off surviving, getting back on the bridge, and doing it again.
Yeah, I heard that. I mean,
So most locals won't walk their dogs anywhere near this bridge,
right.
but in the city actually advises people, if you do, make sure they're leashed and you hang on tight. They're not really sure why, because they say there's like scent of muskrats and minks
Right.
that are down there.
There was
But
also a theory about the dog's sight and the dog thinking that when they jump off, they're jumping onto something flat.
right, but that it's weird that it happens on just this one bridge. And the
Right.
one thing I couldn't find is, does it happen in the same spot?
Right. And I think if I don't know about you, but if I jumped off something, hit hard, it hurt, I wouldn't run back up and do it again.
No, not at all.
So that dog wanted to die bad. You know, my ex-stepmom used to have a dog like that. It was like blind, and that dog was always trying to commit suicide. It tried walking into bonfires and shit like that. It eventually found a way to do it, but I was just like the entire time going, would you just put that dog out of its fucking misery? It's screaming at you, fucking kill me, lady.
Sometimes you have to put the quality of life for your pet before your own feelings.
Exactly.
So, with that being said, quality of life, that brings me to the next one I want to talk about. The Mount Everest Rainbow Valley. Now, when you think of rainbows, you think of the gay and lesbian community, you think of joyous things, pots of gold at the end of it, leprechauns, Rainbow Bright, the Care Bears, My Little Pony. You think of all these little things that the majority of 13-year-old girls would think of. But when you think of the Rainbow Valley on Mount Everest, it is not a nice, happy pot of gold. Because
what's so not nice about it?
So it is named the Rainbow Valley because there are over 200 bodies that are still up there because it's too dangerous to try to retrieve these bodies, and all of the bodies are wearing brightly colored, winter garb.
Okay.
So that is why it's called the Rainbow Valley, because instead of seeing white snow and rocks, you're seeing a red shirt here, a yellow one up there, a blue one over here. So it is actually the Rainbow Valley.
And if Star Trek has taught us anything, you never venture out with a red shirt.
No, not at all, because you are the low man on totem pole.
You're gonna die. You're going to die.
You're going to die. But another fun fact about Mount Everest is you have to bring all of your own water to Everest.
Really?
Because there's so much fecal matter at the top of that mountain that the snow that comes off it is actually contaminated. The water that runs off it is actually contaminated. So you have to bring your own water supply.
That's similar to the river that runs through my town, because in Beale City, all the farms drain all their animal shit into it, so it's always got dangerous levels of E. coli. And I mean, this is the river you and I used to go tubing down all the time, or canoeing.
Oh, right. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I thought the worst thing that we'd have to deal with on that thing was hitting a tree that was down when all the spiders would fall on you.
Right. No, well, back then it was fine because then it was regulated. It's been the last 5 years that it's been like that.
Oh.
Because, regulations got changed by somebody.
Because you had a family that used to live from the Beale City area who had somebody that became governor.
Yeah.
Has lots of ties and influence in that state.
Right.
Right, and then he was the president of Michigan State University for a little bit, and then he got ousted there because he didn't care about women.
Yeah, and he had a huge cow farm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's probably in the river too. So, I mean, there's another obvious one that I don't really think we should talk about, and if we do talk about it, it's because I want to slap the shit out of the guy, but it's the suicide forest, and everybody's heard of this now because of the Paul brother who went in there and made fun of the dead body and shit, and he just needs to get his ass kicked. So if you're hearing us and you know where he's at, go beat his fucking ass.
Right. And if you don't know anything about this, there's a decent movie called The Forest with I can't remember her name. She's in Game of Thrones, and she's been in a bunch of stuff. She's in a Nescafe commercial with George Clooney, but she's in it. It's a decent movie. She finds out her sister goes into this forest and is going to commit suicide. She has to go there. It becomes supernatural and stuff. It's a decent movie.
Okay. Check it.
So another one that's kind of obvious that we won't go too much into, though, are the catacombs in Paris.
No, I can't. We got to talk about it a little bit.
We will a little bit. Okay.
So, because this is one that I watched quite a few videos on, and every one of them come up to this hole in the wall, climb through the hole, and like, we're in a secret room. If it's so fucking secret, why have I seen the same room in 6 different people's videos? Whereas the floor is covered in bones. Because basically, the catacombs were a burial ground.
Yes.
You know? And there's thousands and thousands of bodies down there. So
there's an estimated over 2 million skeletons.
Right. And
throughout the catacombs.
One girl took a surfboard down there because she wanted to surf the catacombs. And by surf, it means lay flat on the board and paddle your way through, because they're not tall enough to actually stand on the board when the water's that high.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what we're doing here is highly illegal, so I'm gonna fucking put it on YouTube.
Right. It's just like it's the same thing as like the show Moonshiners. If they were actually making and selling moonshine, it's not called a TV show, it's called evidence.
Right. I mean, but yeah, the catacombs are fascinating. I would love to go and check them out sometime.
Right.
Actually, a couple years ago, there was 2 teenagers that were actually lost down there for 3 days, and then came out. They were found by rescue dogs and brought out and on the verge of hypothermia and stuff like that. But I mean, there's just miles of these things. Yeah,
there's a what they know of is there's 250 plus miles of tunnels underneath old Paris, and they're not like sewer systems where there's every couple hundred yards there's a grate where light comes in. If you go down there and you don't have a flashlight, your candles go dim, your batteries die, your cell phone dies, it is pitch black.
It's like in Braveheart, I talked to God. He said I was gonna make it, but he said you're fucked.
So there's a mediocre movie called As Above, So Beneath.
Okay.
So Below. It kind of takes place in the catacombs.
Okay.
And I remember, that's kind of bad. When I was younger, I saw this porn mag that actually had pictures of naked women in the catacombs.
Okay.
Yeah, it was weird.
There's also an underground society. There's people that go down there. They built things and stuff down there, and it's kind of like a band of roving hippies or gypsies that just kind of go down there and hang out, and they have a secret society they go down there to meet and stuff like that.
Oh, right on.
So, but yeah, so that's it. Now let's get really fucking creepy.
Okay.
And I'm hoping you did more research on this than I did, because it freaked me out and I couldn't. And we're going to travel a little bit south and go to Mexico for the Island of Dolls. Please tell me you researched this.
I have some information on the Island of Dolls.
All right, good.
So, let me find. I got a lot of shit here, people. Hold on. Okay.
Well, while he's looking for this, I'll touch it. I mean, there is literally hundreds and hundreds of dolls on this island, and they're creepy as fuck. There's some with no eyes and shit like that. Jason's found his material. I'll let him give you some backstory on it.
So, a now deceased man named Julian Santabarria created this landscape that looks like it comes out of a horror film. And so what he did was he started nailing and hanging dolls, like Cabbage Patch dolls, and just, the creepy ones that you lay back and the eyes close type of shit on trees and everywhere, because he was trying to ward off evil spirits. And daring souls could hire their own boat and try to convince the driver to pay a visit, but most boat owners will not take anybody to this island because they are scared of what is on the island, because the amount of effort that this man put to ward off evil spirits, that they're more convinced that there's something on the island that's trying to be kept there. But you can hire people to take you down the boat and drive you around it. It's an entire island, and it's called I'm going to slaughter this name, Extremilioco. It's just outside of Mexico City. I'll just say that.
And you have to be careful, because there is a fake one that people will try to take you to just to get your money.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I mean, because I did watch some videos on it, but I got creeped out when they actually got to the island. Like, this guy had taken 5 trips down there to try to find this place, and on 3 of the trips they took him to the fake one, and then he's like, okay, this isn't it, I want to go to the real one. So he finally got there in this one, but after they got there, I had enough.
Oh yeah, so there's some of the pictures from the
yeah, they're going to be in my dreams tonight.
Good. It's creepy as shit. See, it looks like we'll go into a couple of these other places there, but it looks like some of these places, like the Chernobyl, where all of these people. I'll just tie these two together real quick.
Yeah.
In the 80s, there was a nuclear plant in Russia.
Pripyat, Ukraine.
Yeah. Where there was 50,000 people that lived in this town. 12 hours later, everybody's gone. They evacuated everybody. And now urban explorers have gone in and taken pictures of all this stuff, and you can see like empty cribs with the dolls still in them. And that's kind of what this island reminds me of, is how creepy and just not natural.
Yeah, basically it's like the offsprings of Annabelle.
Yeah. if Annabelle and Chuckie had kids,
right, they
that
would
were
be
all stillborn and nailed to trees.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah. And touching on the ghost town of Pripyat, Ukraine, which you brought up with Chernobyl. The other thing, I mean, I've watched some videos of people going in there and doing it, and they have like radiation detectors, and these things are going haywire.
Yeah.
Nothing's that fascinating to me that I'm gonna risk radiation poisoning.
Exactly. If there's a documentary series on Netflix called Dark Tourist, and he is in a truck with a bunch of other people that are going into this area, and they've all got their meters, and at one time it spikes to like healthy is like 1, 2, and it spikes to like 7, which 5 is deadly.
Fuck that.
The whole truck votes to say, fuck this, we're out of here. Every single one of but the guy who's doing the tours, or the tour guide, is like pushing him on. It's like, no, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But my whole thing was, when I was watching this, is like, this guy's trying to push them further in there. How many times has he been in there himself that he's already, I mean, is he just trying to collect as much money as he can before he dies?
Right. Yeah. Or is he just going, you know what? I really don't want to have any more kids. I can't afford the surgery. Let's see if I can get sterile this way.
Right. There's easier ways to get a vasectomy.
Right. So, did you by chance run across the Chapel of Bones in Portugal?
Yes, I did. That is...
Talk about the blood of your ancestors. This is the bones of your ancestors.
Right. I mean, so to give you a quick visual, I'm trying to find I've got a lot of notes here, people. So a quick visual with this place is, imagine you go to a hunting lodge where when you walk in, there are lamps and chandeliers and coat racks, stuff made out of deer antlers. And then, you know, everything on there has got, you know, deer hooves and deer heads and all that other shit. Now imagine they're not deer hooves or deer antlers, but they're human skulls and human bones.
Right.
And this is a church.
Yeah. Yeah, it's built out of the bones of 5,000 monks, I believe.
Wow.
You know, people that serve there. So I mean, it's seriously, you know, it's the bones of your ancestors.
Yeah.
You made your church. A church made out of basically human flesh, human remains.
If Ed Gein was a religious person, this would be his church.
I'm surprised Aleister Crowley didn't take it over.
Yeah, exactly. And so not only there are walls that are like formed. I mean, it's just like it's like a puzzle piece of human skulls and then femurs and more human skulls.
I didn't see any rib cages.
No.
That would be good for like your lamp settings. You put the light bulb inside there or the candle, you know.
Right?
Yeah, it's just, to me, that's why on earth would you build a church out of human remains?
Yeah. I mean, when you
and to be religious, I don't get it. I just don't. It'd be like me. Oh well, you know what? You know, my grandparents are gone, my mom's gone, all these people are gone. I'm going to dig them up, and I'm going to build my house out of their bones.
It's like, you know what? You know, it'd be really cool. I'd like to build a church, but I don't really have anything to build with. All I got are these bodies.
Right.
You go to most places, they're like, all I got are these rocks. Maybe I could build a church.
Right. Yeah, it's just creepy. I mean, it's just fuck it. Okay, what's next?
Fuck that church. It is creepy, creepy, creepy. So let's just stay on the there's two religious ones that I kind of wanted to, we'll just lump these together.
Okay.
One is the Hill of Crosses in Lithuania.
Lithuania.
Did you come across this one?
No, I did not.
So there's this hill in Lithuania that is I don't even know why. I couldn't find out why they started doing it, but people started coming here as on a pilgrimage to this place, and then everybody would leave a cross. So now there's a couple 100,000 crosses of varying sizes all up and down this hill.
Huh.
And it is wild. I mean, here I have the printed picture that I got from some website.
Okay, that's creepy.
Yeah.
You got the Lord Jesus statue back there.
Yeah. Right. So people just started coming there, but nobody will stay at night.
Why not?
I don't know. But everybody just comes there during the day. And but you can like leave a prayer and then make a wish or whatever, and then it's like a wishing well. You leave a cross, and then shit's supposed to come true. But then the other one was the hanging coffins of Sagada in the Philippines. Did you do this one?
Yeah.
This one is wild because instead of burying their dead 6 feet under, they put them in a cross. They put them in a casket. They didn't crucify anybody. They put them in a casket, put some boards into the side of this hillside, and then stuck the coffin on there, and they called that good.
Oh, you know what? We got to lump another one in there with that too. Because that also is similar to the Destitute Cemetery in Guatemala.
Oh, I didn't see this one.
Yeah, it's basically just, you have to pay rent to be buried there. So if you have a family member buried there, you're paying rent on it.
Oh, wow.
If you don't pay your rent, they pull the body out and open it up for somebody else and just leave the body sitting out there. So, I mean, you walk through this place and there's dead bodies leaned up against the wall.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's almost like an art exhibit, the way they're positioning them and stuff. It's really fucking gross.
It's like Body Works.
Yeah.
But not like legal.
But it's similar to the hanging coffins in the Philippines.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, the only place that we've talked about that I would probably go to so far is Jacob's Well, because I would love to go diving in there.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool. Not kind of cool, that would be cool.
But there's another place in Romania that I find fascinating.
Romania.
Yeah, and I'm going to slaughter it. It's called Hoi Baciu.
Okay.
It's a forest in Romania. And in this forest, there's this big circle where no trees grow. It's just all grass. And I got turned on to this a couple months ago because I was watching, I think this chick is from New Zealand or Australia or one of these countries. She's a white girl with an Australian, New Zealand, or English accent. I'm not sure. Sometimes they make it. But she goes there, and the stories there are hauntings, UFOs, which, big, large circle kind of points to that.
Yeah.
But so much shit that goes on there. And, she stayed the night there. Nothing happened. I mean, they heard stuff out in the woods, but it could have been animals. But they never saw any animals.
Oh, wow.
And there's times when that forest is just dead silent. You can't hear any animals moving, nothing.
Now, that's even creepier than hearing shit out there.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, you should at least be able to hear wildlife and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's a place, of course, I always wanted to go to Romania. I want to go and check out, Dracula's castle and all that shit because I love that shit.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. So I'm going to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. This one's still scary, but this is more on as scary as in it's scary for some people, but fucking amazing for others.
Okay.
And these are China's glass bridges.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. I don't know how I'd handle it because I get vertigo sometimes when I look down.
Oh, okay. Well, if you look this up, because there's great videos on YouTube of people trying to cross these bridges, and the one is 900 feet above these two valleys, or above the valley floor, and they're just like, basically there's like wives dragging their husbands across it and guys dragging their girlfriends across it and stuff like that. But there's a second one. There's a walkway, glass walkway, that goes to this platform that's 1,300 feet above the ground. But on the walkway, halfway through it is like pressure sensitive like screens. So when you touch it, it makes it look like the glass is breaking. It like puts cracks.
Assholes.
Yeah, it's something you would never get away with here in the United States. But the fucking Chinese do have sick, twisted senses of humor. So when you step on it, it looks like the glass cracks.
That would be hilarious. I would
and just watch the video. It's fucking great.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out because that's some funny shit. You know what? Let's take another trip south because we're gonna talk about. There's a reason why people from Michigan don't like Ohio. Okay.
Other than the fact that they actually, true story, outside of the Civil War, Michigan and Ohio are the only two states that have ever actually gone to war. Mm-hmm. And it's a true story. They fought over Toledo. And the government came in and broke it up. They gave Toledo to Ohio, and to shut the Michiganders up, they gave the Upper Peninsula to Michigan.
We won in that, man.
Exactly. Because if you look at the bottom, if you look at the border, as it goes across, it jumps up where Ohio and Indiana and Michigan all meet. At that border, it jumps up like 50 miles and then cuts across. That little chunk that Michigan should go straight across at the bottom.
Yeah.
But it makes this little. They actually fought, and technically Michigan lost Toledo, and they ended up with the Upper Peninsula.
I consider that a huge win for Michigan.
Huge win.
Yep. All right. So, anyways, there is a town in Ohio called Helltown. Now, I'm just going to read from the website. The northern part of Summit County in Ohio is known by the eerily blunt moniker Helltown. In the 70s, Boston Township was the site of a government buyout and subsequent mass eviction of citizens. The houses were intended to be torn down and the land used for a national park, but the plans never quite manifested. Legends spawn wildly, and who can blame the legend mongers? Driving through the dark, wooded landscape was enough to give you chills, even when it was populated, let alone when you have to drive by boarded-up houses standing next to the burn-up hulks of others. The local fire department used some buildings for practice. The Terror. Whether based on a kernel of truth or cooked up in the heads of creative visitors, the persistent legends of Helltown add to the creep factor. The steep Stanford Road drop off, immediately followed by a dead end, is aptly named the End of the World. We have an end of the world here. I'll get into that in a second. If you get stuck at this dead end for too long, according to ghost story enthusiasts, you may meet your end at the hands of many members of the endless parade of freaks patrolling the woods. Satanists, Ku Klux Klan members, an escaped mental patient, an abnormally large snake, and mutants caused by alleged chemical spill proudly march in this parade. If you stray from the roads, you may find Boston Cemetery home to a ghostly man, grave robber said, and the quirkiest of all, a moving tree. Dun, dun, dun. Now, so anyways, as I was saying, we have a place here in the town I live in, right on the outskirts, called the End of the World.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been out there several times. My parents took us out there to tracking when we were kids. There was a
out there.
Yep. There was a church out there that's been torn down, but in the church, it was said that a priest had sacrificed a baby, and like there was like a burnt upside down cross in there, and there was like hellhounds that roamed the area. Now, driving out there on these dirt roads, you go over 3 bridges. On the way back, you only cross 2.
Oh. And
there was a story that was told to me by some older friend about in the 70s, they were going back there for a party, and they passed like 3 hippie teenagers on the side of the road, and they're like, it's just kind of weird, you know? Didn't think anything of it. When they got home, they told their parents about it, and their parents like pulled out this newspaper clipping of 3 teens missing, blah blah blah, and it was the same. And they had a picture of them. It was the same people.
No.
They found them, but they had found them, and they were dead.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's the end of the world for you here in Michigan.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Not awesome that the kids died, but you know it's
right.
It's an awesome ghost story. No, yeah, I just looked when you were talking. I looked up Helltown and that moving tree thing. If you look there, they have this really creepy picture of the cemetery with a dead tree in it, right in the middle. And
okay. I'm gonna look it up real quick. You keep talking.
I looked at it through allthat'sinteresting.com /Helltown, Ohio.
I was just gonna Google search it.
No, it's interesting because it actually goes on to say that in 1974, President Gerald Ford approved legislation that allowed the National Park Service that the power to appropriate the land theoretically to preserve forests.
Oh, okay.
But it could have been a chemical spill. It could have been the giant snake. It could have been the escaped mental patients. It could have been a number of things. It could have been the Satanists.
Right. So yeah, why don't you post a link to that down in the underneath there? Oh, I see it. That is kind of cool. It almost looks like it has an arm reaching out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anywho, there's because I have to lump these together because they're both Ohio, and of course it is another abandoned insane asylum.
Ooh, I like these.
This one is called the Ridges, and the history, it's originally known as Athens Lunatic Asylum. The Ridges was renamed after the state of Ohio acquired the property. The hospital saw hundreds of lobotomies and often declared masturbation and epilepsy to be the causes of insanity in patients. So just so you know, if you have seizures or you masturbate, you're insane. So we're all fucking insane because if you don't masturbate, I'm going to tell you right now, you're fucking lying. All right, now the terror.
I did it twice during this show.
Right. The terror. Athens, Ohio is listed as the 13th most haunted place in the world as per the British Society for Psychical Research. The nearby Ohio University, which currently owns most of the property in which the ridge is located, is said to be heavily haunted. The notorious rapist with dissociative identity disorder, Billy Milligan, was housed at the facility for years. The most famous story, however, is that of a 54-year-old female patient who ran away and was missing for 6 weeks. She was found dead in an unused ward. She had taken off all of her clothes, neatly folded them, and lay down on the cold concrete where she subsequently died. Through a combination of decomposition and sun exposure, her corpse left a permanent stain on the floor, which is still visible today. Her spirit now haunts the abandoned ward.
Yeah, her name was Margaret Schilling.
Yeah, you know, it's... Okay, I don't know if it's because I've seen too many horror movies as a kid, but insane asylums freak me out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back through history, there have been cases where people claim somebody was possessed, and they're like, no, they're just insane, so they housed them in the insane asylum.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's just spread that shit to everybody who's susceptible to it, you know.
Well, we don't really have the mental hospitals today like we used to. You know, back in the day, it was, you know, anything. You know, you're now you cure, or you don't cure bipolar, but you can help the symptoms of bipolar with a pill. Back then, they throw you in a fucking room.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, it was like your parents go, hello, doctor. My son keeps masturbating. We'll bring him in. We'll take care of that. We'll cure him right away.
Electroshock.
Yep. You're thinking about touching yourself.
Oh my God! They just had to wire me right up to an outlet and just, especially when I was a kid. Damn.
Imagine that kid now as an adult. Like,
right?
I can't get it up until somebody shocks me.
Yes. So now, and I was reading a thing a long time ago about how most of the treatments actually caused more severe behaviors.
Well, yeah, because it was basically like torture.
Yeah.
I mean, except for the ones that got lobotomized, because they were just vegetables afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, that goes back to this guy whose name was actually Dr. Lobotomy.
Yeah.
He specialized in doing, obviously, the lobotomy, but he could do up to 20 a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would 20 fucking lobotomies a day? Nobody needed. There was not that many people that had to be lobotomized back then.
Right, and consider now they do none.
Right. That is just a sick fuck is what that is.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I'm going to look over this because there were some more like interesting ones on here.
Now, one I'll throw out real quick, and everybody's heard of this one, is the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia.
Yep.
We're not really going to go into that one because 1,000 different ghost shows have done the Eastern State Penitentiary. So if you want to do that, go look at one of those shows. Right.
Oh, and for those who are fans of Ghost Hunters with Jason, whatever his name is and stuff, Tats, the whole Tats thing. Mm-hmm. Apparently they're coming up with a new show because I saw it on Facebook and I added in the comments, I'm like, please do not add creepy music so we can actually fucking hear what's going on, and don't tell people what your EVP says. Let us figure it out for ourselves, god damn it.
Yeah. Say, what do you think this says? Not, hey, they're saying they're trying to kill me. We're trying to kill you. No.
Right. All right. Let's go. Let's take a little trip to New Jersey. How about that?
Jersey.
This is Shades of Death Road. Now, the history is this New Jersey road winds through 7 miles of countryside, and along that stretch, it gives us no definitive clue as to the origin of its eerie name for those wondering. Shades of Death is not a nickname given by locals, but is in fact the road's official moniker. While the explanation for this highly unusual name has been lost, many theories abound. Some say that murderous highwaymen would rob and kill those along the road. Others say the reason was because of violent retaliations by the locals against the very same highwaymen resulting in the lynched corpses being hung up as a warning. Some attribute it to 3 murders that occurred in the 20s and 30s. The first murder saw a robber beating his victim over the head with a tire iron. The second saw a woman decapitate her husband and bury the head and body on separate sides of the road. And the third consists of poor Bill Cummings being shot and buried in a mud pile. So, some attribute it to massive amounts of fatal car crashes, while others considered the fault of vicious wildcats from the nearby Bear Swamp. The most likely explanation, however, is that a malaria-bearing mosquitoes terrorized the locals year to year, and the remoteness of the area prevented good medical attention from being prominent in the area. This is supported by the facts that in 1884, most of the swamps in the area were drained. Now, get on to the terror. Gruesome history and spooky name aside, you have much to fear along this byway. South of the I-80 overpass lies an officially unnamed lake. The most will tell you is called Ghost Lake. This lake is frequently the home of specter-like vapors, and the sky is supposed to be unusually bright no matter what time of night you are there. As per the name, ghosts of the highwayman's victims roam the area, and they are most frequent in the abandoned cabin across the lake. The dead-end road, known as Lenape Lane, is home to thick fogs and fogs. Yeah, thick frogs. You have thick fogs and apparitions.
We got some fat frogs.
Right. You may be chased off the road by a white light. I'll let Wikipedia detail the most disturbing aspect of the road. One day during the 1990s, some visitors found hundreds of Polaroid photographs scattered in the woods just off the road. They took some and shared them with Weird New Jersey. What the fuck? Which published a few samples. Most of the disturbing images showed a television changing channels. Others showed a woman or women blurred and somewhat difficult to identify lying on some sort of metal object, conscious but not smiling. Local police began an investigation after the magazine ran an item with the photos, but the remainder disappeared shortly afterwards. So yeah, lady chops her husband's head off, buries it on one side of the road, and the body on the other. And God, everybody feels sorry for poor Bill Cummings. Nobody wants to get buried in mud.
No, no. I looked at weirdnewjersey.com at the one Polaroid, and it's got like the ball apparitions that you see in all the ghost stories. It's like, we had a ball light go. It's got a couple of those going down the road.
Yeah, I used to think those are all bullshit. Oh, it's just a dust speck. Oh, it's just that. Until I saw some videos, and it was like you would see the light, then all of a sudden the little ball of light, then all of a sudden something would move on its own.
So I'm gonna throw back to an older episode that we did. We did paranormal. We did ghost. Basically, we did ghost stories.
Yeah.
And we had technical difficulties the whole show.
Yeah.
And everything kept freezing up. We couldn't see each other, but
we got disconnected at one point.
What's that?
We got disconnected at one point.
Yeah, we got disconnected, and you saw a ball light behind me.
Yeah.
During that episode. So say what you want, but before and after that show, recording it, there was a lot of strange phenomenon that happened in both of our lives.
Yep.
That it was just, I don't know if it was just the vibe, or you can pull from our law of attraction episode, but there was just a lot of, we didn't edit that episode at all. We just played it fucked up as it is, with a little disclaimer at the beginning, so you can see that, oh my God, that was pretty fucked up.
Right, and I believe we're gonna have that episode available on our Patreon site when we get that up and running, and that will be for people who donate will be able to watch it and check it out.
Yeah. But so find us on Patreon. Donate, please.
Yes. I need the money. I got 5 kids.
He's not joking, people.
So what's next on our list, Jason?
Okay, so kind of I'm going to bring it back to the light a little bit. Not really, but so when we say scariest, you kind of have to throw in extremes.
Yes.
So I found the coldest and the warmest places on our planet that are inhabited to live. So a lot of people would find these places scary, especially Daul, Ethiopia. It's got an average yearly temperature of 94.3. That's like in January and July, you average all that shit out, and it's still, even if it's on its cold days, it's barely below 90.
Right.
Plus, if that's not bad enough, sulfuric gases spew from vents in the ground, from geysers. So you have like sulfuric gas, toxic fumes, and it's never below 90.
Yeah, fuck that.
Right.
That would feel like you're in hell with the sulfur and the heat.
Exactly. And I'm gonna slaughter the coldest place. It's Olmaya Akon, Russia. It's a village basically in Siberia that has about 500 residents. Now that part of that I thought was fucking weird. 500 residents, but it is so cold in the wintertime that cell phones won't work.
Wow. How would I play my games?
Right? It has the lowest recorded temperature of a place where people live at negative 96.2 degrees Fahrenheit.
Man, your heat won't even kick on. I mean, it would kill your furnace would fucking blow up.
Right. Let me repeat that. Negative 96.2 degrees Fahrenheit. And let me convert that to Celsius. That's absolute zero. That's fucking cold. I don't know what it is in Celsius because it's a weird system that we didn't grow up with. It's probably even better than ours. Actually, it is better than ours because zero cold, 100 boiling. Fuck, that makes sense. Not 32 and 212. That's fucking retarded.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that would love to go there for the solitude because I like to hide from people.
Uh-huh.
But then again, after this winter we've had in Michigan, I say fuck it. I want to go tropical.
Everybody reaches that point in their life where they, you know what? Cold hurts.
Yeah.
But then you know what? There comes a time during the summer it goes, you know what? Humidity sucks.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because I hit that point every summer. It's like, okay, I'm ready for winter. Because it's easier to put shit on than it is taking shit off.
Exactly. So those are the hottest and the coldest places that people actually live.
Right.
On our planet. That's both dumb. I would no.
Yeah. I'm gonna take us on a little trip to Florida.
Ooh.
Now this is called the
Sunshine State.
Yeah. This is called the Riddle House. It's in Palm Beach.
Palm Beach.
Yeah.
Palm Beach, because our population is all Caucasian.
Right. So I'm gonna read this real quick before I start editorializing. The history. The Riddle House in Palm Beach County, Florida was originally a funeral parlor. The Victorian house was dismantled and rebuilt in yesteryear village at the South Florida Fairgrounds. In the 1920s, the house became privately owned by Carl Riddle. Riddle, damn it! Like terror. Joseph, one of Riddle's former employees, committed suicide by hanging himself in the attic of the house. Joseph, for whatever reason, hated men and displayed his hatred by attacking men who entered the attic. One man had a lid flung at his head, and men are now no longer allowed in the attic. Other places in the house are haunted as well, with furniture being frequently moved. Now, I'm just going to go out there and say, why the fuck would anybody buy and inhabit a home that used to be a funeral house? How many fucking horror movies have you never watched a horror movie? God damn it!
Right. Has anybody ever seen Poltergeist?
Yeah.
They just built their home. They built a brand new home on an Indian burial ground. And look what happened to them. They didn't live in the house where the bodies were. Right.
I mean, Jesus Christ. You're just asking for trouble. You know, and that's go back to the whole Eddie Murphy thing. I mean, let's
get out. Okay.
I'm not trying to. This is more a culture thing than it is a race thing. But I want you to look up all the ghost hunter shows and stuff like that, and tell me how many African American people you see.
Right? How many Asians? No, because they're not dumb like we are.
Right. I mean, there are some like Latino, but more, I think, Americanized Latino that were born here and stuff like that, and probably grew up in a white neighborhood.
Right.
You know, but we're the only ones dumb enough to go and check this shit out.
We're creating science so that we can run out there and do it.
Right. And I kind of want to do it too.
Yeah, actually, my wife and we're planning a trip to. There's a couple of different places in Southern Oregon and Northern California where we want to hit.
If you're going down to Northern California, why don't you just stop in Colorado at the Stanley Hotel?
Right. Well, we're gonna hit all those places eventually.
Right on.
But so we're talking about ghosts, and there is I think probably the best ghost story that I heard for all these, and we're gonna head back across the pond again to to Scotland. I believe it's Scotland. Yes, Scotland.
Great, just great.
In the Gothic capital of Edinburgh, there lies a cemetery called Greyfriars. Greyfriars Kirkyard is the name of this place. So this is just a creepy ass old cemetery for a long, long time. Until in 1999, a vagrant busted in, was looking for a place to sleep, busted into one of the catacombs, and somehow broke a hole in the floor. And ever since that time, the place has become haunted. People have gone there and gotten scratches down their face, across their backs, and all of them, because the catacomb or the mausoleum that he busted into was that of one George Mackenzie. And George Mackenzie was the prosecutor for the Scottish Covenanters, a Presbyterian movement in the 17th century. So what he was the guy that was basically the judge and jury, and he made, he was really, by all intents and purposes, was the executioner of these people. And he was buried in the same cemetery of the condemned that he put there. So he's buried along with 10,000 of the people that he put to death. So this is an evil, evil man.
Right.
And now his poltergeist.
George.
Exactly. So now his poltergeist is out, and there's times when they've actually shut down parts of this cemetery. They will not allow people to go in.
I've got a question for you. I'm sorry to interrupt again.
Oh, no worries.
So, are they sure it's his, or is it all the other people because they're pissed off that they put him with them?
Well, I don't know. It was none of the events and sightings and attacks have happened before his tomb was busted into. Okay, so that's why they attribute it as being George. And
okay, that makes sense. I guess so. But I mean, if it's a very violent spirit like that, I mean, there's a good chance it could be like somewhat demonic, and they're gonna make you believe whatever the fuck they want you to believe.
True. There's been 450 documented attacks, and 140 people have just collapsed under mysterious circumstances just being in the cemetery.
Jesus.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't want to go there.
Yeah, most of the tours are relegated to only be done during daylight hours because, and get this, less attacks happen during daylight.
Less. That's the key word there. Less.
Yes.
Because there's still some happening during the daytime.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, kind of on that topic though, I mean, I've been to tons of cemeteries. I've always been fascinated with cemeteries because a lot of people view them as an end, and I kind of view them as more of a beginning because it's starting the next chapter, or however you say it.
Yeah. But along those lines, real quick, I look at them as more like a history lesson. I love going to the oldest parts of cemeteries and just reading the names and the dates on headstones.
If you can, if they're not worn out.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said, but you can walk in cemeteries, and if you're open enough, and you know, you to your surroundings and shit like that, you can kind of get a sense of whether or not it's a good place or a bad place.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple here in town. One of them, I used to play in that thing. I would go there during the day and write poetry and draw and shit because it was very peaceful. The one by Island Park. You know which one I'm talking about. Yep. Then there's the one that my mother is buried in. This one, I walk in, I go into, and like she's up front. Where she's at is fine, but when you get back in that place, you get this like dirty, like evil feeling, and so it led me to do some digging, and there's some theories that people have sacrifices out at the back of that cemetery.
Oh, okay.
Which would explain that feeling. But again, I don't know what I'm feeling. It's just that's just the feeling I get. I can't explain it, But
I know what you mean, because I've been in cemeteries where I felt comfortable, and then there's ones where I'm always looking around like some man is going to come walking up to me, who turns out to be a zombie.
Right.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Right.
That creepy dude that looks like the caretaker, yeah, he is coming to get me.
Oh, did you see that side note, there is a new zombie movie coming out with Bill Murray in it?
Yes. Dead Don't Die.
Yes, I have to see it.
Iggy Pop as a zombie.
Yes. It's a pretty big, Steve Buscemi. There's a pretty big cast. But anyways, back on track. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. Another thing with Greyfriars is for the last 140 years, there's a noble-looking bronze Skye Terrier statue out front that is there because the owner of the dog passed away, and the dog stood vigil over his grave for 14 years after his death.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And then when the dog passed away, they memorialized it and made a statue, and they put that out in front of the cemetery to kind of watch over the whole place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But then they released old George McKenzie afterwards and fucked it all up. So
right. So let me look at my list here. Yes, we talked about Riddle House. Here's another cemetery one. And for this, we're gonna take a trip to Kansas. This is called the Stull. Wait, Peter Prost. Okay, the Stull Cemetery. The history. Stull, Kansas is a tiny unincorporated town in bumfuck nowhere. Douglas County. It actually says that I'm actually reading that. And it triggered my dog to make a weird noise. 10 miles west of Lawrence and 13 miles east of Topeka puts it far from anything resembling a large population center. The population of Stull is approximately 20 people. But don't let the deceptively quaint village fool you. A darker side lurks behind the bushes and in the shadows. The Terror. In the early 20th century, two tragedies rocked the tiny settlement. Please observe these are not legend or folklore, but fact. First, a father finished burning a farm field only to find the charred corpse of his young son in the aftermath. That is fucked up. I really should have read this first, because now that's going to bug me. The second incident to occur was a man missing and was later found hanging from a tree. As far as legends go, the infamous cemetery is where you can find your fill of supernatural lore. The book Weird U.S. has this to say on Stull Cemetery. There are graveyards across America that go beyond merely being haunted and enter into the realm of diabolical. They are places so terrifying that they say the devil himself holds court with his worshippers there. The cemetery on Emmanuel Hill in Stull, Kansas is one of these places. Rumor exists stating the Stull Cemetery is one of 7 gateways to hell. While the old church is now demolished, many attempt to sneak in at night for a peek at the unsavory goings on. But be warned, the police patrol heavily, especially on Halloween and the spring equinox. This place is supposed to be so unholy, in fact, that some claim Pope John Paul II refused to allow his plane to fly over eastern Kansas on its way to an appearance in Colorado. The validity of this last claim is up for debate, but none can deny the legends of or not. Stull Cemetery is a terrifying place to be. Yeah, I kind of don't believe the whole Pope thing, but yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, but they do have weird superstitions.
Yeah.
Well, that the like one thing with the Pope, it's kind of wild. Is it's hard for you to deviate a flight plan to start with, but when the Pope is in the air, there's automatically two fighter planes on either side of the jet that he's in.
Yeah.
Everywhere he goes in the world, which is fucking wild because Air Force One doesn't even have that.
Right. Well, it, if he was never going to fly over a graveyard, though, he would never fly anywhere. I mean, every town has. Every town I've ever been in has more than one cemetery.
Yes.
So
like George Carlin says, some of the best real estate in the world is taken up by golf courses and cemeteries.
Right. So I mean, it's like the saying, you're never more than 5 feet away from a spider. You're never farther than like 3 miles from a cemetery.
Yeah. I mean, even if they're not, there's unmarked graves everywhere around the world.
Right. So I mean, chances are you have a dead body somewhere near you, and you don't know it.
So, like in the area that I live in, one serial killer told another I'm trying to remember who they were, but he says that's why I kill in the Pacific Northwest, because there's so many places to hide bodies amongst the trees.
Okay.
Yeah. But the other thing is we had DB Cooper. Everybody knows who DB Cooper is. His body was never found. They found just recently. I mean, now DB Cooper happened in the 70s. In 2013, 2012, 2013, they found remnants of a parachute.
Right. I remember hearing about that.
That's how thick the forest is just north of where I live.
Yeah.
If it took them 30 years to find parts of a parachute, I'm just saying, there's bodies out there.
Real quick, I'm going to take us on another trip south, and we're going to head down to Chile.
Okay.
And this is interesting because this was on the Sci-Fi Channel's Destination Truth. It is Humberstone and La Noria. And what these are, they're two abandoned mining towns in Chile were recently featured on an episode of Sci-Fi Channel's show Destination Truth. In 1872, the town was founded as a saltpeter mine and business boomed. However, after several heavy blows, including the Great Depression, the business declined and then collapsed in 1958. And the town of Humberstone and its surrounding towns were abandoned by 1960. Treatment of workers in both towns bordered on slavery, and now the towns are left standing derelict. The terror. Excuse me. It is rumored that the dead of the La Noria Cemetery rise at night and walk around the town, and ghostly images frequently show up in photographs in Humberstone. These towns are so terrifying, residents of nearby, I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to bother.
Right.
The former residents never left and can be seen walking around, and children have been heard playing. The cemetery of La Noria, regardless of whether its occupants actually walk at night, contains open graves where the bodies are fully exposed, leaving you to wonder why. Is it ghosts or is it a grave robber? As if either prospect is very appealing. But the full episode of Destination, you can go check it out on Destination Truth.
I'm going to. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So I want to stay in South America.
Okay.
Okay. This one is Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's about 90 coast off the. It's actually about 90 miles off the coast, and it's Ilha de Quilomara Grande, or whatever the fuck I just slaughtered. It's Snake Island.
Snake Island. Yeah.
So Snake Island is this little island that's 90 miles off the coast of Brazil. You're not allowed to go to this island. Period. End of story. They did, however, allow a crew to go there a few years ago, and they kind of made like a little documentary there. But The reason you're not allowed to go there is it is insanely highly densely populated by the golden lancehead viper. Now, when I say insanely populated by this snake, there's an average of 1 to 5 snakes per square meter.
Ouch.
Now, I don't know if you know what that means, but about the size of your arm width around you, there's 1 to 5 snakes. Now, these snakes have become highly evolved. Yes, we're going to talk about evolution again for a second. Because they're on an island and they're left there to their own devices, their venom has become 5 times more deadly than the ones that are on land, their land counterparts. Now, the poison that they have is so it's so insanely powerful that it will kill a bird instantly, and it can melt human tissue.
Ew.
Yeah. So the government bans anybody from going there for a couple of reasons. One, it's just too deadly, and it would cost too much to try to save somebody from there because you're 90 miles offshore. There's no place to land a helicopter on this island. It's kind of like where Luke Skywalker was in The Last Jedi, that little island out in the middle of nowhere, but just instead of having like village with like the lizard people that he lived there, they're all snakes.
Oh, wow.
Just shitloads of snakes. But there is a lighthouse there that's completely automated that is on the island. And that's the only thing that people will go to the island to work on the thing, but it's just, they try not to.
I don't mind snakes, but I don't want to be around ones that are that deadly either.
Yeah. And they're everywhere.
Right. There's no escaping it.
So I did watch part of the documentary. It's actually it's like a 6-part show on like Discovery or Travel or something like that. But when they're walking around, it's like they had like a snake expert and another snake expert and then an idiot and then a couple people that try to get them to go there, and then that's what their party was. And there's like snakes in the trees, there's snakes under bushes. It's like, why? Why would you do that?
Motherfucking planes.
Yeah, right.
Oh, so with that being said, we'll take that plane to Sweden.
Ooh.
And in Sweden, we'll go to Borgvattnet, to the haunted vicarage.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, fuck, that was difficult. Even though I'd love to go there and I'd love to learn the language, man, I would probably just choke on my words.
Yeah.
All right, so here it goes. Known as one of the most haunted houses in Sweden, the old vicarage was a longtime home to various priests. And there you go. Although it was built in 1876, spirit sightings didn't start until 1927 when the priest living there at the time reporting watching his laundry being torn from the line. The stories continue from that point on. No one is exactly sure who's in charge of the hauntings, but some claim it's former abused maids, babies buried in the backyard, or former priests. You can find out for yourself by staying the night since the home is now a B&B. So, it's Europe, probably a Catholic priest. It's probably some of the little choir boys that he had to take care of because they were going to talk.
Right. Exactly. You know, and word has it the Pope won't fly over that place either.
Right. Oh, that was good. Yeah. So, yeah, that one I found interesting just because.
So we're gonna along those same lines. There's a place in I'm just gonna say Finland. I'm not gonna say the name of the town because I'm gonna slaughter the artist name. Navio Ronkankanen. I slaughtered. I'm sorry for the artist. It's the sculpture garden that he created. It was one of the most famous contemporary folk artists in Finland during his lifetime. He also was a recluse and refusing to showcase his pieces in public spaces. He built his collection of nearly 500 concrete figures in his backyard, forming his own personal sculpture garden in the process. The display on the grounds was a group of around 200 statues arranged in a variety of yoga poses. Well, something obviously was unsettling about the sculptures. Supposedly all self-portraits, they're nowhere close to being the most sinister items in the garden. His collection features an array of creepy individual statues, from a nun lurking behind the bushes to a cloaked man with a long outstretched arms. If you see it, it kind of looks like Slender Man. Yeah. The malevolent grin on these figures were accessorized using real human teeth. So these creepy ass figures were smiling back at you, but those were real those are human teeth that are in the mouths of these figures.
That's fucked up.
So if you thought the babies nailed to trees, the dolls nailed to trees, look at these ones. And
Right.
the creepy factor is like a 7.85 to an 8.
Now, what was this place called again?
I'll just spell it for you. It's Veijo, then Ron Kkonen Sculpture Garden in Parkkala, Finland.
Okay, so I mean, let's all sit down for a second.
Okay, sitting.
Use our brains and look back at where most of these places are. Cemeteries, old funeral homes, weird islands. I mean, lighthouses, castles. This shit is all haunted.
Yeah, they have body parts. They're made out of skulls. They have human teeth.
Right. So we got underground waterways. We have underground tunnels. And all these and like fucking So basically, it comes down to common sense. If that place looks scary, I ain't going in it.
No. If the town is abandoned, if nobody wants to live there, you probably shouldn't visit.
Right. There's a reason for that.
There ain't no Starbucks. Don't go.
And if you do go, make sure you're faster than the person you go with.
Exactly. Because I don't have to outrun everybody. I just have to outrun you.
Exactly. I've been training, man.
I'm sure you would outrun me now.
So, where else you got on your list, Jason?
Okay. So this one is kind of an unfortunate, scary place because this was a picturesque, well, it was a nice place in a valley around a lake where people lived and thrived for years, and then just something happened that was mysterious, and it actually took a number of years to figure out what the fuck happened to these people. And it's Lake Nyos in Cameroon. So what happened was people went in to visit the village, and there's 1,700 people dead, 3,500 cattle dead, with no apparent like form or cause of death. They all look like they choked to death at the most.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Kind of like a roach motel. Roaches come in, but they don't come out.
Exactly. So it's very mysterious, and it took like 10 or 15 years for them to actually decipher what had actually happened. So there was so much like vegetation and shit that was at the bottom of this that it trapped just tons and tons and tons of CO2, just carbon dioxide at the bottom of this. Something happened. They think maybe like a mild earthquake or something, that it erupted. All the CO2 erupted from the middle of this lake. And then, well, carbon dioxide is heavier than oxygen. So when it came out of the lake, it just formed a cloud that came through and pushed all of the oxygen away from these villages, and all these people suffocated.
Wow. That's fucking scary, man.
But they've since fixed they've actually gone in and they fixed the problem. They actually have a like this pipe that goes into it and actually kind of pumps the CO2 out to kind of like release the pressure,
right,
in increments, so that those people, nothing like that would happen again. So it was a natural disaster, but it's one of these things where you could be sitting next to a time bomb that you don't even know about.
Right.
Like, oh shit.
My
like, like Napoli in Italy is actually on a super volcano.
Yeah.
So it could go off at, any time and kill millions of people.
Well, I mean, there's so many places in California that could at any time could just fall off and become part of the ocean.
Yeah. I live in the shadow of the most famous volcano in American history, Mount
Right.
St. Helens.
Right. And you know what? You brought this up earlier about these downloads that are coming out of San Jose. So let's travel to San Jose, Jason.
Okay.
And we're going to go to the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. The name Winchester is synonymous with death, given the family's dealings in the gun business. But when Sarah Winchester, part of the famous rifle company family, was told she lost her husband and child because of the ghosts that were killed by the family's rifles, she went a little coquille. To keep away the spirit, she built a beautiful Victorian house with some interesting quirks. There are no doors to nowhere. There are doors to nowhere, brick walls, and secret passages. Apparently, it didn't help keep all the ghosts away because there are still sightings, mainly on the third where the servants lived.
It's wild that you bring that up because my wife and I were just planning a trip down to that area to visit that place.
Awesome. You have to check. You have to let me know about it.
Yeah, because what I was telling you about the Southern Oregon and Northern California, those places, the Winchester House is on there.
Awesome.
On our list. So I've been doing a fair amount of research on that. There's actually a decent movie called Winchester.
Okay.
It's about the lady who built the house. It's more of a spooky movie, but it deals with the house itself. And
what was the name of it?
it's just called Winchester. It has
is it like 13 Ghosts?
No.
Okay.
No, but it's about the lady who she always wore black and know Miss Winchester, and these people come to visit the house, and it's interesting.
I'll have to give it a look.
Yeah, but the Winchester house is something that I remember learning about when I was a kid, and I've always wanted to go to it because, yeah, like I said, there's stairways that go straight to a ceiling, but that's it. They just go straight to a ceiling, and there's doors on the second floor that open up to outside with no deck or anything. I mean, this is shit that you can't get away with codes today. But this isn't just like some kind of like quirky, like there's another place on Northern California or on the coast. I can't remember what city it's in, but it's called like Nitwit Ridge, and it's built like it's this house that's built into the side of this cliffside, but it's just it looks like it's haphazard, just shit's just thrown together. The Winchester house is beautifully ornate. I mean, this woman had money and she put it into this stuff. So there was constantly a crew of construction workers there. They worked around the clock working on this stuff. And it's very ornate, very beautifully done stuff. So this staircase that goes to nowhere, it's not like they just built a little staircase, just cut some 2x12s, made some stringers, throw some treads on it, call that good. No, this is like a very, Victorian style staircase, very well crafted. Right. And yeah, the Winchester house has always intrigued me because she felt guilt for the deaths that were caused by her family's name.
That's interesting. And I could see that, because I think if I was her, I probably would as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel guilt for, I'm part Native American, but I'm also, part Caucasian. So, I feel guilt for what my Caucasian ancestors did to the Native Americans here,
Yeah.
Even though I had nothing to do with it personally, it's still.
Right. But yeah, so she felt guilt for that. And that's why she did all this shit, was to confuse the ghosts so that they couldn't get to her and enact revenge.
Right. But at that point, you got to kind of wonder, is it really haunted, or was it just her guilt causing the psychological thing?
Or could a pill had saved a lot of money?
Right. So with that being said, let's let's take a trip to Iowa.
Okay. We're
It's
in
Iowa.
sunny Iowa.
Yeah, nobody fucking goes to Iowa. So this is Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa.
Hmm.
When a place gets a nickname of Axe Murder House, you know there's bound to be some ghosts lingering around. So what exactly happened here? On June 10th, 1912, Josiah B. Moore, his wife, their 4 kids, and 2 young girls spending the night were all murdered. No one was ever convicted of the crime, and to this day, people claim they've seen a man carrying an axe and children crying. To make it even spookier, the house was actually returned to its original condition, meaning no plumbing or electricity, and you can now partake in evening tours. If you really want to test your limits, you can even book an overnight at the haunted home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would do that. I would go there and visit, but I don't know if I'd book an overnight.
If they had electricity and a shitter, I probably would.
You know, I can go camp in the woods and be just as scared.
Right. You know, and then be worried about bears and shit, or the
Right.
Blair Witch and shit.
Yeah, you know, out in this house, I don't have to hang my sandwiches from a tree.
Right. You got any more, Jason?
Yeah, I do. Another one is a natural scary place. It's called the Bolton Stride.
Okay.
Now, I didn't know what a stride was, but a stride is a stream that narrows really quick.
Okay.
And they refer to this as the most dangerous stream in the world, because it goes from being 30 feet wide and 5 feet deep to instantly going 5 feet wide and 30 feet deep. So it just narrows into this little channel. But that's not the scary part. The scary part is under the water in this section, there's series of underwater caves and holes that will suck you in and not spit you out.
Oh, kind of like an undertow.
Yeah, there's a near 100% mortality rate if you were to fall into the water without a life preserver or something to help you out. Without assistance, it's almost 100% death.
Damn. Yeah, that would be pretty fucking scary. I don't think I'd go there.
Yeah, there was the video that I saw. There was a couple of kayakers, and the one guy flips over almost instantly going into this, because it's just a calm little stream, and then it just like turns into like rapids.
Yeah.
And he flips over almost instantly, and you see him disappear for a second, but he manages to grab a hold of his kayak and pull himself up to keep his head above water long enough to get out.
Oh, wow.
And without that one last grasp of his boat, he would have been dead.
And now there's some E. coli in that waterway too.
Yes.
Because he shit himself.
He did. Man, I don't understand. So I don't even feel sorry for the guy, because the risk going into something like that.
Yeah, you asked for it.
I feel sorry for anybody that even attempts to try to retrieve the body.
Yeah. Well,
that's like on Snake Island, if those assholes would have gotten stung by a snake, bitten by a snake, that I don't feel sorry for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because like you said, they had the idiot, and there's always the idiot in these shows. But let's take it back to another episode again. Let's go back to the law of attraction.
Yeah.
Okay. So this guy is traveling down this waterway, and the entire time he's going, shit, if I flip over and lose my grasp, I'm going to die. And then what happens? I mean, luckily he didn't lose his grasp, but he flipped over. He manifested that on himself.
Yes, he was barely into it.
Yep.
When he flipped over.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, it goes back to that, negative thoughts bring negative energy.
Exactly. So one more that I want to bring into here real quick is when I was talking the creepy factor of the other two being like a 7.98 and an 8.
Yeah.
This one's easily in the 9s.
Yeah.
This and it's the Akadeswa Fetish Market.
Okay.
Yeah. So in Togo, West Africa, there is a voodoo superstore. It's an open market where you can openly buy all the supplies that you need for voodoo.
Right.
And when most people think of voodoo, they think of Haiti.
Right.
But the birthplace of voodoo was actually in West Africa, and it
Yeah.
moved to Haiti. So you can go there. People come from all over the continent, and actually from all over the world, to go there. And if you see the videos of it, there's like heads of animals and anything that you need to do voodoo, you can find in this open air market.
Right. And for those people who've never heard of fetish used that way and more used in a sexual manner, the definition, there's two different definitions of fetish. You already know that one is a form of sexual desire, but the second is an inanimate object worshipped for its supposed magical powers or because it is considered to be inhabited by a spirit.
There you go.
So, yeah. Yeah.
So there, you fucking learned something today.
Before we stop this, in the town that you live in,
yes,
there has to be a place where you think is just spooky as hell or scary as hell.
Okay, yeah. It's not actually in the town. It's just north of here. And it's an old mill where they used to grind wheat and flour and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But right next to it is this creepy ass covered bridge. And then there's this old mill that's right next to it that it's got like this long waterway that comes in, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. There's no reason why anybody should have built this where it's at.
Right.
But it's just and I've been to it, and I've actually done like they've actually opened it up and they did like a little tour of the thing. And it's no less creepy being inside it.
Right.
So that's one of them that is creepy as hell. But then the other one I have to talk about is because I live across the river from Portland, Oregon. Okay. Yeah. That's the one that's basically in my town. Over in Portland, they have a thing called the Shanghai Tunnels. Now, Portland it used to be a port town because the Columbia River, which is the second largest river in America, goes it comes all the way down through Canada into out to the Pacific Ocean. And there's a lot of ship traffic that comes through this. So Portland used to be a port town.
Okay.
Well, what they did, they have all of these tunnels that are underneath the town, kind of like the catacombs in Paris.
Right.
But there was different bars where people would get drugged, drop through trap doors in the bar, like the actual like benches that they were sit on would swing open. They would fall through, and then by the time that they recovered and woke up from that, they're on a ship in the Pacific Ocean, and their only choice is to work or get thrown overboard. And they just so these people are shanghaied, and you can go visit them. They have like Halloween tours and stuff where you can actually go through parts of them.
Oh, cool! That's cool. I think I've heard of that before. Now, like the town I live in, and I know you know this place because your mom worked there, and my dad worked there. It was when our parents worked there, it was called the State Home, and what it was is a big group of buildings on this land with trees out back and stuff, and a forest kind of behind it. Now, it was originally built, and it was used to house Native American children that were taken from their families during that whole era where they were doing all that shit and basically being forced. They were trying to turn them white, they're white. They're whitening them out,
Yeah.
And, but I mean, my stepmom worked there, and I had to go there to see her for something, and I had to go into these buildings. There is just a feel about these buildings that is just bad.
Yeah.
And the woods that are out back behind it, yeah, they give you that really creepy feeling. And there's like a lot of the buildings have been torn down. There's still some left because it is a historical site.
Mm.
But yeah, it's
I was
just
going to ask if they're even still there, but
yeah. There's a couple buildings left on there, and like I believe I think the tribe owns it
oh wow,
now.
okay,
At least I hope. I'm pretty sure they do, and I think they still do some stuff on there from time to time. But yeah, I mean, you have a situation like that where you're forcing children to do stuff like to change their whole ethnicity and culture and everything like that.
mm-hmm.
Bound to be problems, bound to be deaths and stuff like that, especially at that time period, which was probably like the late 1800s,
Yeah,
early 1900s. So, they didn't really care about giving them medical care and shit like that. So,
right.
Disease and shit wipes out a bunch. And there's going to be some ghosts. There's just no way around it.
Right. Like by the time my mom worked there, it was, it was just the mentally impaired and
Developmentally disabled.
handicapped children. Yep. Mentally and physically handicapped children. Or at least in the part that she worked at, that was mainly what that was there. So I actually have a good story about that place.
Okay.
It's not really about the place, but when we were growing up, my mom worked there. She had multiple jobs at the time that she went there. She was from custodial to she worked kitchen, and then she was like an aide for a little bit. But when she was working in the kitchen, if one of the residents didn't like the type of Pop-Tart that they had or whatever food it was, they just throw the whole thing away.
Okay.
So if they didn't like unfrosted strawberry Pop-Tarts, but they kept buying them, so basically it was my mom's job to throw them away. Well, she started parking closer and closer to the dumpster. So throwing them away meant throwing them in the back seat and bringing them to my brother and I.
There you go.
So we ate tons of Pop-Tarts when we were kids. In that little stretch that she worked there.
Right. That makes sense. So I don't really have any more, do you?
No, none that are any creepier than the ones that we'd already talked about.
Right. And we talked before we started filming that, there are so many scary places on Earth we can't cover it in one episode, and we're not going to do back-to-back episodes with it. So we'll summarize this one up here in a minute, but stay tuned. Somewhere in the future, we'll do some more on this.
Just like what we told you guys we were doing with aliens. We just don't want to do like 6 months of worth of alien shit where you guys get burnt out and we'll keep coming back to it. And we'll do this with the scariest places also.
Right.
There's thousands of them.
Yeah. So sum it up, we took a tour around the world and visited some really scary places. Well, we didn't actually visit them. We researched them. Dolls are creepy.
Statues with teeth are creepy.
Yep. So yeah, there's a lot of scary, fucked up places in our world, but there's always, we talked about this before, there's always a balance.
Yeah.
So yeah, that basically sums up the episode. If you guys want to hear us talk about something, you got some ideas, some topic ideas, drop them in the comments, shoot us a message, on one of our social medias. And if we like it, we'll research it. We'll talk about it. We're pretty much open to just about talking about anything.
If those that have listened to our episodes realize that we're all over the map.
Yeah. And we find so many different rabbit holes that it's hard for us to stay on topic with just about anything. So we're going to travel down rabbit holes because we're not going to limit ourselves.
We're like undiagnosed ADHD children from the 1800s.
Right. So, with that being said, I think that's pretty much it for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thank you all for listening. Like Craig said, follow us and insert tagline here.
Yeah, tagline being, use common sense when traveling to scary places.
Right.
Love you guys. Peace out.